Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum assalam. Hello Rabeea, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. Thank you, sir.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling very good.
Are you feeling comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Should we begin with the interview?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, all right. Would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Yes, sir. My name is Rabeea Ikram. I am a medical doctor by profession. I graduated from Gujranwala Medical College, Gujranwala. Later on, I did my house job from Sheikh Zayed Hospital in Lahore. I have also worked as a demonstrator in Fatima Moria Medical College in biochemistry department. Later on, I worked as a medical officer in various private setup hospitals. I have worked as an ICU officer as well as I was in charge of private rooms and medical wards. And later on, I developed the interest of doing civil service exam, and I have cleared my written exam, and here I am.
Okay. You have studied medical, you have done medical studies
Yes, sir.
and now was to switch over to this civil service.
Yes, sir.
How did you get interested to switch over to this?
Sir, when I was in my intermediate, I developed interest of reading books, newspapers, and got to know about the Pakistan affairs. Later on, when I was doing my MBBS, there was a bureaucrat who gave a lecture our students of medical college that there are issues related to medical health as well as various issues present in Pakistan. So I got to know that there is not only medical field but also there are other sectors as well. So from this I got interested, and later on I got to study more, and I took this path.
Okay, that's interesting, and that makes me think that you are alive to your environment.
Thank you, sir.
Think about the systems as well and the issues
Yes, sir.
we are faced with. You had opted for this political science.
Yes, sir.
How Pakistan is constitutionally, constructed? How we are constitutionally and politically structured?
Yes, sir. Pakistan's system has been divided into, there is a separation of power present here, and Pakistan system has been divided into administrative department as well as the legislative branch as well as the judiciary branch.
Let me make it more specific.
Yes, sir.
I mean, how constitutionally our government, our country, our state is structured, how we are formulated, how we have constructed ourselves as a government, as a nation, as per Constitution of 1973. That's my question.
Yes, sir, I have got it now. Sir, we are a federal republic, Islamic republic, and we have a parliamentary form of government here, where the head of the state is our president, whereas the head of the government is a prime minister.
We have used the word Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Have you ever thought what does mean republic? I mean, what does it mean, and what are its connotations?
Yes, sir. As far as I know, republic means that a state or a system that represents the people, that the people of a certain state will have the ultimate power in all the systems and all the says of the government affairs. So that is why it is said that Pakistan is going to be a republic and Pakistan is a republic state.
Okay. Now, we have had a system whereby we had the political governments, then we had the military rulers, and still political scenario or the future is not very clear. What makes you think that why we have gone into political hiccups and interruptions and our system broke down many times? What are the major causes of that?
Yes, sir. As far as my understanding is there that from the start we were unable to formulate a proper constitution in our primary years. We took a long time to formulate a proper constitution. Then there we had the issues of interprovincial relations, and there was a crisis how the state, how the federal and the province relations are going to be. As we know that there were two wings of Pakistan, East Wing and the West Wing. So there were some tussle present according to the relation and the representation of the population in this regard. Secondly, I think that unfortunately Pakistan has been subjected to multiple forms of and multiple times the military rule. So this is the reason that we are not in part of a proper or a true form of a parliamentary form of government. There have been many amendments to the constitution done where sometimes presidential form of government comes and sometimes the parliamentary form of government comes. So I think this is the reason.
Economically, we have not performed well as a nation, and we have been facing a lot of problems, and we have been facing economic difficulties. Still we are facing very severe economic crunch and difficulties. Although we are aware of our problems, First, tell me what are the major problems and how can we come out of it? My question is, pertaining to the current scenario or the current problem we are faced with.
Yes, sir. In the economic sector, we have seen that due to upheaval and the political instability, we have seen that political and the fiscal policies have not been transferred to the next government. Whenever the new government comes, it brings about a new form of fiscal or the monetary policy. Second reason is that we still do not have a proper form of export process in the country. We do not have a specific type of or a substantial amount of exports in the international market. That is why this is the reason that we have been subjected to the foreign aid in the form of IMF programs and various bailout packages. So I think these are the reasons that we have not done industrialization properly. We have not increased our export sector. We have not increased the export sector and upgraded it according to the current scenarios. So this is the reason that we are more dependent upon the imports as well as in contrast to the export sector.
Are you aware of internal and external debt we have accumulated as a country? Any idea about how much we owe to the foreign nations, to the donor agencies, or how much we have internal debt we have? Any idea, any figure?
I'm sorry, sir. I do not have the particular figure in my mind right now.
What do you think is the major economic problem of our country? What are the major problems which are really bothering us since long?
Yes, sir. So number one is that we have not upgraded or made a proper export system in our country. We have not made our country an industrialized state. We are still taking on the old and outdated forms of agricultural policies, which are now very old and the system is unable to sustain these policies. So I think this is the main reason, in my opinion, as far as I can understand.
Okay, two revolutions took place in Europe. One was French Revolution and the other was the Industrial Revolution, and which changed the course of European history and rather the world history. I would refer to French Revolution. What kind of change it brought in and what kind of benefits accrue to the civilization out of that?
So French Revolution brought about the ideas of liberalism, socialism and democratic principles. French Revolution gave us the Human Rights Charter. It gave us the rights of men and women. As we know that these rights of men and women which were included in the French Revolution mandate were later included in the preamble of various constitutions of the world democratic nations. So these are the values and the principles that French Revolution gave us. Secondly, the most important is that French Revolution break down the status quo system. It break down the ancient regime system. Break down that there should be a toleration of religion and there should be freedom of speech, there should be freedom of religion and society. And there should be more focus on the meritocracy in contrast to the nobility or the heritage system.
Which philosopher comes to your mind while you have spoken enough on that? Who was the real, game changer, kind of a person who really brought about change in thinking? Who was that philosopher which comes to your mind during that French Revolution, taking place in the 18th century?
Sir, there was a philosopher, a French philosopher, Voltaire, who died 1 or 2 years before French Revolution took place.
What did he say? What was his philosophy? What did he say?
Yes, sir. Sir, his main ideas were that there should be freedom of speech, there should be freedom of religion, and there should be separation of church and state, and there should be separation of powers among all the departments of the state. So these were the main ideas that he propagated, and this helped in forming the new state, a new republic after the French Revolution.
Okay, that's good. I mean, can you correlate French Revolution and the contribution of Voltaire, then followed by Rousseau, Hobbes, Locke, who changed the overall political philosophy, relate with our country over here? What kind of a country we are? What kind of constitution we are following? And what are our problems which are really impeding us and impeding our progress, intellectual, social, cultural, and political, and economic, of course, as a consequence? Can you correlate both the things that we also need to change, and how should we change, and keeping in the perspective of French Revolution?
Sir, these philosophers gave us the ideas that there should be a social contract between the people and the state, and there should be a representative form of government. Though we know that Hobbes gave a ultimate or absolute form of a sovereign concept, but there was a kind of social contract present in his ideas as well, in his writings as well. Later on, Locke also gave a representative form of government, that there should be democratic principles in the state. So I think in our constitution, as we can see, that we are a federal state, we are a democratic country where the people have the ultimate power, and the people in preamble it is included that people will choose the
Rabeea, you said that there was a big change took place, and the cornerstone and the quintessence was the thinking, free thinking, liberty, free speech, free writing, free discourse, free discussion, which leads to a social, which you are referring, using the word cultural, social content, yes. But I would use the word cultural renaissance, socio-cultural, philosophical, psychological renaissance. Can we also copy that kind of model over here to cope with our problems and get out of this trouble and quagmire we are dealing with? What kind of change we can bring about in our thinking and our processes, our overall as a nation?
Yes, sir. Sir, the problem is that we are a democratic country. We have incorporated these principles in our constitution. But unfortunately, these ideas are limited to the constitution, are only in writing, are only in letters. These are not properly implemented in our country. When all these ideas are incorporated and implemented, and all the rights of the men and women of Pakistan citizens are given, I think these problems will be automatically solved. That is a problem of crisis of federalism in our country. That we see that there is some interprovincial tussle always present in our provinces in our country. So I think the problem lies in the implementation of these ideas.
Okay. We have these gender equality issues. It is across the world, everywhere, even in the very developed countries. It is there, but we have that kind of sphere manifestations over here. The way we practice, the way we implement, the way we perceive, the way we behave, and the way we take it as a nation. So, what do you think? How can we resolve our these equities or inequalities in terms of gender? Because it has been your subject as well.
Yes, sir. Sir, we have very good laws and acts present which provide us proper representation of women in education, proper representation in political life, in social issues as well. But as I have said before, that the problem lies in the implementation of these ideas, these acts, and these.
What impede its implementation? What are those bottlenecks? What is holding that? What is holding that to take place?
So number one is, in my opinion, number one is that the patriarchal mindset of our society that impedes the gender inequality phenomena, that men are still considered to be very superior, and a normal family would dream of a son rather than a daughter who will bring about many changes in their lives. So I think this mindset which is hampering us today, right now.
And how change would take place? By taking what kind of measures we can change that kind of mindset or the thinking will change, bring about a change. Which would be how would we can do that? Yes, what to improve it? What is needed?
Sir, by improving our governance system, by improving our social indicators, by giving rights to all the citizens of Pakistan, irregardless of their gender, I think these problems can be solved easily.
You were, the discussion opened with the asking of your change of profession. You are a student of political science. So, in the overarching Aristotelian theory of golden mean, how do you explain the change that you have had from one profession to the another? When I say the theory of the golden mean, Aristotelian golden mean, I mean when he talks about the unfurling of the dimensions a person inherently has over years. So how would you explain that, your change into that, being a student of political science?
Yes, sir. Sir, taking into account Aristotle's ideas of this theory, that I would say that when a person grows or passes through the phases of life, not only his intellectual mindset, intellectual abilities as well as physical abilities enhances. So he comes to know that what are his limitations, what more he can do for himself as well as the society. So I think these are the changes that has taken me to, I have pondered upon this to switch my career from medical to the civil service side.
So do I conclude from your utterances that you do not agree with the Platonic station of life theory?
So I would partially agree with him.
With that theory also?
Yes, sir.
So where do you stand when you are on two hips?
Sir, I would say that I have achieved what I have dreamt and what I aspired, but I am still in the process of achieving more and more. So I think this is my opinion.
Okay. You had talked about Voltaire. Was he a devout Christian and he died as an atheist? Why?
So because he was very apprehensive of how the church.
You had talked about Voltaire. Was he a devout Christian and he died as an atheist? Why?
So because he was very apprehensive of how the church took the lands of the people and how church was propagating the ideas of Christianity at that time. He was very apprehensive and very critical of the principles of church and the whole Christianity.
Do you recall any devastating experience of his life which caused him to say and utter and write what finally developed into the Renaissance?
I'm sorry, sir.
Okay. Ma'am, the Islamic laws, it is alleged that they discriminate against women. Do you agree with this assertion?
No, sir, I totally disagree with this, because Islam is a religion which has given proper and equal rights to the women. In the respect, what are the abilities of a woman, what are the responsibilities and rights and duties of a woman are going to be. So I think in this regard, Islam has equally and very fairly allocated the rights and the duties of men and women accordingly. As we see that it is alleged that women are given less share in inheritance, whereas men are given more share. But on the other side, we have to see that women are given less responsibility and men are given more responsibility to earn the money and to fulfill all the needs of the household. So I think this is the main reason that the society alleged, or the other side of the view alleged that Islam is unfair to the women.
Okay. Do you agree that men and women may have the same intellect?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree with that? As far as the five senses are concerned, men and women are the same?
Yes, sir.
So, Islam says that a woman's witness is half.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it discrimination? A girl gets half of the share in the inheritance. Isn't it discrimination? There are laws in Islam which differentiate between a wife who has borne a child and a wife who hasn't.
Yes, sir.
And there's a lot of difference in those laws.
Yes, sir.
So isn't it discriminatory? And if it is discriminatory and you are okay with it, then why do you eulogize and appreciate Voltaire and the Renaissance, which spoke against all this?
Sir, I eulogize Voltaire as far as his ideas of freedom of speech and freedom of religion is concerned.
He talked about women's rights also.
Yes, sir, I do not agree with Voltaire in this particular aspect. But as far as Islam is concerned, that is your question, that Islam is, it is alleged that Islam is discriminatory to women in the view that half of the witness is considered. It is because women, not all women have the same abilities or the same physical. So we have to see the basic level. At the basic level, at the core physiological level, at the core anatomical level, we see that the qualities or the abilities are same.
So do I infer from your statement that the average continuum of a man's IQ is better than that of a woman?
No,
You have said just now.
Yes, sir. Sir, IQ is not only inherent, but it also influenced by environment. We see that a man is goes outside more. Women are subjected to the household chores and in-house more. So there is a difference in the change in environment as well. That is the reason that there is a difference between the share of the witness as well as the share of inheritance in Islam.
I was reading an article, a research article of Mensa. They are the ones who recruit bureaucracy for England. You know their bureaucracy is known to be pretty good. They have claimed that the reason the bureaucracy over the world, over the various countries is not up to the mark because there is something wrong with the recruitment. And they say the recruitment has always been focusing upon IQ to the exclusion of certain other very important parts of personality. What are those other parts of personality which are now considered while every recruitment all over the world?
Right, sir. So personality is influenced by the inherent makeup or the genetic makeup as well as the environment.
Now, ma'am, I mean to say, what are the other quotients apart from intelligence which are very important and must be measured while recruitment processes are going on? And that is what Mensa has advocated, and this is what they have already implemented. So what are those quotients?
Yes, sir. There is the cognitive abilities of a person, the analytical skills of the person, and also the fluid intelligence of a person. There is a certain type of intelligence that is a fluid intelligence that has nothing to do with the inherent or the knowledge a person has acquired over the time period. It is related to the experience of a person. So I think this is the reason that these are the quotients that shape a personality, and these should be included while we have to assess for a personality for the recruitment in the civil service.
Well, what you have said, I appreciate that. But again, that coming from a person who has scored so well in psychology subject, there are certain quotients of personality. So the cognitive behavior, the cognitive measurement are not quotients. Have you heard of EQ, emotional quotient?
Yes, sir.
Have you heard of CQ?
I'm sorry, sir.
Have you heard of SQ, spiritual quotient?
No, sir. I'm very sorry. I have not heard it.
Okay. So, what are the UNESCO heritage, World Heritage sites in Pakistan? Could you name a few?
Yes, sir. These are the Mohenjo-daro and the Harappa sites, as well as Rohtas Fort is also included in our World Heritage.
And ma'am, this Rohtas Fort, it was built by whom?
I'm sorry, sir. I do not recall at the moment.
And why was it built?
I'm very sorry, sir.
Okay. So Sher Shah Suri was a person in the history.
Right.
He had built the Rohtas Fort.
Thank you, sir, for adding to my knowledge.
Thank you, ma'am. There are theories of separation of powers. Could you contextualize them with reference to Pakistan?
Yes, sir. Sir, theory of separation of powers was originally given by Montesquieu. He was a Western philosopher. He gave that the three branches of the state should be divided and their powers should be separated from each other, and all the three tiers of the government should rather act as a check and balance on each other. So I think the three tiers of the state are judiciary, legislative branch and the administrative branch. And Pakistan has the same model, whereas Pakistan has a legislative branch in the form of the National Assembly and the provincial assemblies, and the judiciary, we have the High Court and the Supreme Court system, and the establishment branch or the...
And how is the theory of separation of powers performing itself in Pakistan?
So unfortunately, there has been era when Pakistan has been subjected to the military rule, where these separation of powers has not been properly implemented, and there has been the interference in the internal affairs of various departments.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, Rabeea.
Yes, sir.
Rabeea, what is the meaning of your name?
So my name is Arabic name, and its meaning is spring season.
Spring season. So, what is the historical importance of your name?
Sir, it is said that there was a Sahabiya with the same name who used to recite Quran beautifully, and it is different from the name Rabeea and the historical figure the Rabeea Basri.
Now, Rabi, tell me that government has spent millions of rupees on you and to make you a doctor, and now after becoming a doctor, instead of serving the patients which are badly in need, you want to switch your career, you want to join civil service. How is that?
Sir, number one reason is that the interest I developed in this civil service, and second is that while I used to serve as a medical officer, as a medical doctor, I was only service in the health department, whereas civil service will provide me a dynamic approach, various platforms in all the departments of the state where I could serve the nation properly.
Okay, well, that's a bookish answer that you want to serve. Tell me the real reason. What is the real reason that you want to join the civil service?
Sir, the main reason is that, the main real reason is that I developed interest, that I got to know that there are various other departments that I could serve and explore my personality more and improve myself at that level.
Okay, I will take it with a pinch of salt. So you had political science. Can you tell me who is Machiavelli of the subcontinent?
Sir, as far as I can remember, Chandragupta is known as...
No, it was his advisor. Basically.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. If you allow me to say more, that it was Chanakya who was his name known as the Machiavelli of subcontinent.
Yes, Chanakya Kautilya. Instead, Machiavelli should have been known as Chanakya Kautilya of the West. So it is otherwise. Okay, he wrote a book. Chanakya Kautilya wrote a book, which makes a good comparison between the Machiavelli's prince. What is the name of the book?
So the name of the book was Arthashastra.
Arthashastra. What is it about?
I'm sorry, sir. I do not know what it's about.
Okay. What is allegory of cave given by Plato?
So allegory of cave given by Plato is a concept defining various aspects of a society and how a person perceives while living in a cave and while how he sees the world. So it is a allegory used to describe the environment and describe the various perception of reality and expectations from a person's mind.
Okay, Rabeea, you had European history. Tell me, what is the difference between the eras of Renaissance and Enlightenment?
Yes, sir. Renaissance came before Enlightenment, and it was a movement that addressed various medieval or the Greek era structures of the ideas of beauty or the art or literature were incorporated again. These were incorporated again in literature and arts. Whereas Enlightenment was a period of educational reform, of religious upheaval reforms. It was a period that there was propagated the ideas of separation of church and state and the freedom of religion and expression. So in this era, various philosophers and scientists came, and then if you allow me to say more, that most important is Isaac Newton, who belonged to the Enlightenment era.
Okay. There are two places in the Europe, St. Helena and Elba. Yes, what is the importance of these places?
Sir, St. Elba is the place.
St. Helena. St. Helena and Elba, there are two places.
Right, sir. So Elba is the place at which Napoleon Bonaparte, when he was defeated, he was imprisoned there and he died there.
He died in Elba or St. Helena?
I'm sorry, sir, I have mixed the two and I have...
Okay, you need to read upon that. Okay. Tell me about unification of Italy.
Yes, sir. So unification of Italy was a remarkable event in the European affairs, and Italy at that time was a mixture of various smaller states, and with the help of various leaders and the kings and the Count Cavour and various secret organizations and military and guerrilla activities, it was united in a single nation.
Okay. Rabeea, who coined the term international law?
Jeremy Bentham coined the term international.
Jeremy Bentham. And who is the father of international law?
Father of international law is Hugo Grotius.
Hugo Grotius. Okay. Let's come to psychology now. I'm going to name three persons, and you have to tell me what is their relation between them, among them, and what are their contributions in the field of psychology. Number one is Simon Freud, number two is Anna Freud, and number three is Carl Jung.
Sir, all three belong to the psychoanalytic group of psychology, same school of thought. And Anna Freud was the daughter of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud gave the theory of a psychosexual development of a man, of a child, and whereas Anna Freud gave the theory of interpretation of various mind of a children, and that a person has different defense mechanisms that it helps that person to cope with the reality or the unexpected situation. Whereas Carl Jung gave he deviated a little bit from the psychosexual theory of Sigmund Freud, and he gave a social view and a social touch to it. So these are the differences.
In one of your answers, you said that we are economically down because we are having less exports and more imports. Now you tell me that how can we improve our exports, or we can compete in the market internationally when China is having the dumping policy? They are making so much products on very competitive prices, that how can we compete with them?
Sir, in my opinion, first we have to look for ourselves. We have to fend for ourselves. Instead of looking at China and instead of aspiring directly for China's status, for economic status, first we have to improve our internal affairs. First we have to improve our situation, and so that we can get out of the foreign lending different institutions, foreign debt situation. So I think first we have to look for ourselves, that we have to improve our industrialization process, industrialization system. We have to improve our, we have to get more and more industries upgraded according to the modern needs. So I think this is the main reason, or the main situation that is going to be.
Okay, thank you. Sir, over to you, sir.
Okay. All right, Rabeea, you have fared well, and wish you the best of luck.